Well, hi, and welcome to week 3. Can you believe it already? I regularly start out my face-to-face classes by saying that nothing we are going to study is going to be anything that you don't already know. Instead of breaking new ground, what we're going to do is practice stepping back from what we already know and thinking really, really hard about what it means. And I think that's what we've been doing so far in this class, talking about the ideals of American society, ones we've been enculturated into believing are right. Then we try to reconcile these desired ideals with the reality of our past and our present. We've talked about our pride in proclaiming freedom, and we try to balance that with the inconsistencies we can all clearly see in the way individuals have experienced freedom. We've talked about a society where we're all equals, but we've had to bring that into line with the fact that the American dream really only makes sense if we posit the truth that the definition of success depends on an image of upward mobility in class. And so we find another paradox. How do we move up if we're all equal? This week, we return to e pluribus unum, but instead of thinking in terms of individuals in relation to larger groups, we're going to consider groups within groups. Since the US is a nation of immigrants, where millions arrived to mix with Native Americans, our history is one where culture has been created through multiple sources into a single amalgam. What I particularly want to draw your attention to is how important it is to consider how we talk about this part of our past, how the words we choose to characterize the process of cultural blending can really impact how we understand it and how we encourage others to understand it. So let's start with the classical metaphor, the melting pot. When I was a boy, Schoolhouse Rock informed me about this directly. In the opening stanza of The Great American Melting Pot, they sing, "They'd heard about a country where life might let them win. They paid the fare to America, and there they melted in." I won't apologize for not singing. You should probably thank me. What this educational short told me made the situation obvious, and it made perfect sense to me. But the thing to recognize is that I was a white middle-class kid. That makes me part, even when I was a child, of the dominant portion of my culture, the one which other people from outside were asked to conform to. So in the first line, we have the evocation of the American dream, and it asserts that the US is different economically and politically than other places. The US is unique in this depiction because it allows winning. This first line demonstrates a promise, but the second line turns to the matter of payment for fulfilling this promise. Well, actually, first real payment is mentioned because, of course, getting to the land of the free isn't free. Then, once here, the suggestion is that what needs to occur is melting in. What this implies is that in order to capitalize on that winning, assimilation is required. At the end of that video, kids are asked to go talk to their grandparents and ask about their cultural history. And that is certainly an awesome thing to encourage. But the fact is that this means that the writers of Schoolhouse Rock were assuming that the children would have to do this. And that shows the expectation that the assimilation was completed in the past and that those historical cultures have not so much added flavor to the melting pot as just dissolved in it. In my own area of specialization, the term cultural evolution is of particular significance. And we may also think about this as a way to talk about what we see as happening in our past and our present. We can talk about how differing factors can come together, mix, impact one another, and maybe create hybrid results. This may sound much more even-handed than the melting pot. However, the history of applying evolutionary models to elements of culture has quite a bit of baggage, where many precedents exist for using evolution to justify racist motifs which privilege, well, surprise, the dominant segments of US society as the significant ones, the ones which should remain in control, and which must remain, if you'll excuse the term, pure. 19th century thought on cultural evolution, in a large way, justified the separate but equal mentality for race relations, which the nation struggled to shake off through the first half of the 20th century. and the results of this still impede us today. So what I say is, think carefully about how you want to talk about how cultures mix, blend, or remain within the greater expanse of general, US culture. And think carefully about what that means. We have some interesting readings this week, and I really do look forward to talking about them. We also have a proposal due for our milestone. I'll put up a post with my expectations on this part of the project, and I'll also offer an example or two as a model for what is expected. The big thing to remember is the purpose of a proposal. What you're doing is selling your reader on the project you're describing. You have to show that what you're arguing is A, valid, B, interesting, and C, important. Selling is what proposals are all about. So keep that in mind. So in the meantime, if you need to talk to me about anything, by all means, I'm here. Write me, call me, text me, whatever it takes, and I will get with you. Till next time, adios.